was so awkward. Reese, Nicolette, if you're watching this in 15 years and you still don't have any siblings, you'll know why. Okay, so yesterday I wrote all of this down. I took all these notes and like tried to make a timeline of the day or days that I was in labor and giving birth. But then my mom took notes also and like tried to make a timeline. She was like more legit and actually looked through her text messages and made a timeline, and she sent it to me. And I was real off, like not even close. So I'm gonna use both of them together. It was a hot summer day in August. It was a Wednesday. So I think starting at 38 weeks when I went in for my appointment, I asked her to sweep my membranes, so she did. I didn't mean to do that hand movement. So she swept those guys out and did not work, obviously. And then the following week at my 39-week appointment, she swept those bad boys again and it still didn't work. And then I passed my due date. I was really miserable at this point. I was like trying everything. I even did the castor oil and, well, it didn't do anything. So here we go. Here's where the storm begins. I was 5 days overdue and I'm going for my, just my checkup. I was like walking in there like, okay, we're gonna schedule my induction for this weekend. So cool, like I was ready for that. We do the exam. I was 2 centimeters dilated already, like 90% effaced. I had been this way for like a couple weeks, and she swept my membranes again. I don't know why, because a couple minutes later she came in and told me that I had preeclampsia. And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah, I'm sure. So she's like, I'm gonna send you over to the hospital across the street and you're gonna be induced right now. And I was like, okay girl, let's do this. So I go over and I start registering, and I was actually really nervous, like super nervous. So I called my mom, I called my mommy, and I told her that I was about to be induced, and Anthony was with me this whole time. We get to the hospital, we start getting set up and everything. So this was at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. Let's see, as soon as I got there, they started me on fluids and they started me on the medication for when you have preeclampsia, which I want to say it's the magnesium sulfate. I could be wrong, but I think I like looked it up and I think that's what it was. It was horrible. It made me feel real drunk and just totally out of it. At 4 p.m., my sweet little doctor came in and induced me. Well, the first induction was with just Cytotec, which is the tablet that they put in your cervix to soften it, to just, because I was already 2 centimeters dilated and I was having contractions this whole time. So she thought if she just did the Cytotec, then that would like get things moving. At 9 p.m., so 5 hours later, I was only 3 centimeters dilated. So she gave me more of that tablet, the Cytotec. Okay, so something that, well, I didn't know anything about preeclampsia because I just assumed that it wouldn't happen to me. The one super annoying thing that you have to do is they have to track your pee. So there's literally like a bucket in your toilet to catch your pee. I was on so many fluids that I got up to pee like every like 20 minutes, and I had to carry my IV bags and everything with me. It was so annoying. I hated it. I'm like dragging this on. I'm gonna try and be quicker. I was just bouncing on the ball, sitting there for a while. Anthony was sleeping. He was all cuddled up on the couch with the blanket. I'm really happy for him that he got to do that. Okay, I want to say it was around 3:30. I wanted to start walking the halls because I was like, okay, this is baloney. And like, I wasn't in an extreme amount of pain. Like, yes, the contractions hurt, but it was fine. And then I had to, like, I was about to go walk the halls and then I was like, wait a minute, I gotta sit down. And then I just started puking. So anyways, here I am, lots of vom everywhere. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and call for the epidural because I wasn't making very much progress. I had already been laboring for 12 hours and it was the middle of the night. I was so tired and I was throwing up. It was like I could have gone longer without the epidural if I wasn't throwing up. The epidural is a whole other story. It was like extremely awful for me. I don't know if it was because like she was up in my ribs, like kicking my ribs in the like part where I was like, my shoulders were being pushed down. Like, I don't know. It was just, it took like 20 minutes and I don't know. I just remember it being horrible. Like I was crying, I was yelling, and I'll put a picture of the bruises that it left on me. Like that thing was terrible, or like the getting it part. But it was actually, it was 10 out of 10. So 45 minutes after I got the epidural, my doctor broke my water. That felt, I remember it feeling really strange. It was just like gush of water. And then she started me on Pitocin because you guys, I was in labor. I was already in labor for 14 hours and I was only at 4.5 centimeters. 2.5 hours later, I was dilated to a 6 and I was nauseous and barfing. This was after the epidural. I was just puking everywhere. Woohoo! An hour after that, dilated to an 8. So I dilated 2 centimeters in an hour, so that was pretty quick. But then 2 hours later, I was still only dilated to an 8. So she gave me more Pitocin. So this was all like, it was okay. Like the laboring part was not horrible besides the barfing. So this was 22 hours later at 2 p.m. I was finally at 10 centimeters. So my doctor was like, all right, let's get this show on the road. So I started pushing. You guys, this is where it all goes downhill. This is where I yelled to my husband, I am never having any more kids, and he will not let me forget that. This is where my memory just... So I started pushing, you guys. I was pushing, I couldn't really feel it. I was watching my contractions on the monitor and like pushing with those, but I could tell my doctor was just like, okay, nothing's happening. My sweet doctor, bless her heart, decided that I should turn off my epidural. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, you know what? Let's do it. I am not joking. She had me turn around, pushing on my hands and knees. She had me on my side, holding one leg up, pushing. She brought the squat bar up, had me squatting, trying to push this girl out. TMI alert. I am not exaggerating. During each contraction, my doctor had her hand inside of me trying to bring Reese down. Like, that was gnarly. I remember that part. Like, I think it scarred me. Like, I can't forget that part. That part was terrifying. Apparently I was barfing while I was pushing, more barfing, and pushing. So I was pushing for 2 hours. My doctor said, this ain't gonna happen. We need to do a C-section. And at this point, my epidural was no longer working. I was screaming bloody murder. Like, get this girl out of me right now. I just remember like, okay, signing the papers, like, okay, just get her out of me. I don't care. At this point, when I went in for surgery, the medication, the magnesium had made me so loopy. I could not open my eyes. I will put a picture here about, showing me just asleep. Like, who falls asleep during their C-section? Like, I was out like a light. And I remember the anesthesiologist was trying to talk to me, like, keep me up. No, I was just laying there. Honestly, it's like really sad. Like, I wish I wanted that moment of her like coming out and having her on my chest. But it was like total opposite. So I heard her crying. I do remember that part. And I remember they're saying, whoa, that's a big girl. She wasn't even like that big. She was 7 pounds, 15 ounces. And I didn't even explain why I needed the C-section. So apparently my pelvis, the way it's shaped, it's like shallow. So my baby couldn't make the turn through the birth canal to get out. Like it just wasn't going to happen. And in the future, I have to just continue to get C-sections, unfortunately. So Anthony, they hand her to Anthony and he tries to give her to me, like lay her on my chest. I couldn't even open my eyes. I told him, I was like, just take her. Like, I can't even look at her right now because I'm like so out of it. She was born at 4:54 p.m. So this was 25 hours after the initial induction. I was in recovery and I do remember that part, being able to hold her. And I remember being so thirsty and they wouldn't let me have water. I was like, oh my God, somebody get me water. They gave me some ice chips, but I was like, ugh. I was in the hospital for 5 days. So after this, that night, I couldn't breastfeed her. I didn't feel comfortable holding her because I was so out of it. So Anthony was able to give her a little bit of formula through a syringe, which was fine. But my whole family was there. I don't really remember them being there. I do remember after them doing that where they push on your stomach. Oh my Lanta. That was horrible. Like, I think that was worse than like my contractions. They made everybody get out of the room and I was just screaming. Oh my gosh, I don't even. It was horrible. It's the worst part. I don't even mind the catheter. Like, the catheter was nice. I could live with a catheter. Like, I don't have to get up and go to the bathroom. Cool. Like, I'm okay with that. Doesn't bother me. That pushing on your stomach, ugh. I had to be on the magnesium for, I think it was 24 hours after she was born. So like the first couple days of her life, I just don't remember. And then the other thing was that they had to keep drawing my blood to like test my blood. So they kept coming in and waking me up and they drew my blood so many times. I don't even remember how many times. But I was like, can you leave my arm alone for 10 minutes? They could not. After all this, I was anemic for like 2 months, like pretty bad. I finally was able to get back to a normal range, but I just felt horrible. And C-section recovery just is no joke. Like, I couldn't even walk till at least 2 weeks after she was born. Like, I lived in my hospital underwear and my nursing bra. It was honestly a horrible experience and it makes me sad because I was hoping to have like the best birth ever. I don't know, I'm just jealous of the moms that got to push their baby out. Okay, she's awake. I mean, look what I got. Look what I got. The sweetest, chunkiest, cutest baby I've ever seen, huh? And that is her story. Sorry, kid, it sucked.